everything that I found. This ain't no difference, look at you now. And baby, cut yourself loose.
Hey everyone, so today we're out here in the beautiful Tucson, Arizona at the Lexus First Drive event for the all-new 2024 GX550. So we got to play around with all the trims of this car, on-road, off-road, and we've got some thoughts for you. So Isaac, take me through the day. What did we start with?
That's loaded. It's a lot because I'm amped to be here and I'm excited. And I feel like this day's consisted of a ton of cool stuff. So really, just to like outline and recap so far, because we're really getting to the tail end of the day. We started out, woke up this morning, had a cup of coffee, and we were able to get a full spec and just overall recap and like kind of a training session, if you will, of everything you need to know about the new GX and a little bit about the outgoing GX. And that was from Lexus Marketing. Mackenzie updated us on a bunch of things to consider while we're driving these trucks. So that was like, there was 2 sessions. One was like a half hour, and then the next one was just specifically, we dove into the specs of this. So we talked about the mechanics, we talked about the chassis, we talked about the interior, we're like literally parked outside of a...
We set our camera up in the middle of a running path,
yes.
So don't mind that.
Yes, don't mind that. We'll pretend that didn't happen. But to continue, that was the first hour of the day. We were just really taking in as much information as we can. We briefed ourselves before, watched some training videos and kind of dove into learning a bit more about this GX. But that was the morning, and then basically they said, hey, let's take these GXs, specifically the Overtrails and the Overtrail Pluses, let's jump in them, let's drive a half hour to like the base of the mountains, and let's take them trail riding, essentially.
Isaac, you have the most off-roading experience. Like, tell me, what'd you think?
I have a ton of off-roading experience, Sterling.
Right.
I am the master of off-roading.
You're actually the off-road guy. He's him.
Most people here look at me and say, you are the off-road guy.
Yeah, you're Isaac.
Not at all, but I thank you for saying that. I obviously enjoy that part. I don't know if I know a ton, but I've been around it like my whole life doing that type of stuff. So that's what naturally I care about most. But yes, it was a lot of articulation and a lot of mudding, which you simplified, that was well said. But to talk about it even a little bit further, we specifically took out the 2 like off-road trims that they offer, which is Overtrail, and then the Overtrail Plus is like a little bit more luxurious version of the Overtrail, so you get like massage seats, for instance. But they both have all the same off-road capability, both the Overtrail and Overtrail Plus. And really the first, 30-40 mile lap was high speed, was 4 high, a bit of 4 low. We locked the center locker, and we can talk a little bit more about that later too, but just testing and feeling this new eKDSS, which is the upgrade from the outgoing model for like the hydraulic KDSS, and just the overall new suspension, new chassis, the rigidness, how tight it felt, and yeah, just how it handled off-road. There wasn't an outgoing model to like directly compare, but we've been around 5th Gen 4Runners and GX460s for the last several years, so you know we know for the most part. And there's something special about just getting into not only a stock off-road vehicle, but one that's been really well thought out, like one that actually has the right suspension, one that has the right wheels and tires. Like this one comes with 22s, the Overtrail comes with 18s, with a nice aggressive Toyo AT tires. So it's like, that's like Lexus's thinking above and beyond with some of that stuff. And then to even take it a little bit further, the Overtrail comes with a rear locker, which obviously that makes absolute sense. It's the first time you can get a rear locker in a GX. No brainer. So it's cool to be able to test that out on some more, what would you say? They weren't really obstacles, but they were enough of an obstacle to be able to test out some of the 4-wheel drive capabilities of it, if you will.
Right. I mean, what stood out to me really is, this vehicle is designed to give you off-road performance effortlessly. Right? Like, the whole point is you're not supposed to be thinking about it. That's kind of, their target buyer wants something that can do it.
Right.
And they don't have to overthink, like, do they have this, do they have that, so on and so forth. So I had a bit of a unique experience when we were on the off-road driving portion, because I actually spent the majority of my time in the back seats with the camera, because that's normally what I spend my time. No, it's good. This is my job. This is what I spend a lot of time doing. So my definition of like a smooth off-road ride, my like metrics are very different. My metrics are, if I put a lens cap down in the left seat and we go over an obstacle, is it still there when we get on the other side? Now, I daily drive a Gladiator, so the answer there is it's never there.
Right.
You know,
it's gone. It's literally
right.
missing.
Like you look at one rock and we send the lens cap to the stratosphere. This car is effortlessly smooth. You know, it's able to articulate, work through obstacles. The suspension is brilliant. The EKDSS, I mean, it was just very, very well tuned.
Yeah.
So I noticed that I was able to sit in the back, shoot through the window, have a conversation with you, and I wasn't even uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that was on the Overtrail model. You know, bonus points if you're in one of these and you have like rear heated, cooled seats.
Right. But even the Overtrail still has heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel,
Yes, of
sunroof,
course.
all those things. I will note, I'll say this, is coming from like your Gladiator with 10K in suspension and my 4Runner that we've been building for the last 7 years, like honestly, that's the experience we're coming from. And to say that this is better isn't what we're saying. What we're saying is for the trails that this is going to go on, not extreme hardcore off-roading, right? But for trails where you need a rear locker, where you need a good approach angle, where you need a good departure, a good breakover, good clearance, a solid rear axle, like you actually need a well-rounded off-roader. I mean, this did it for me. It actually did it for me. And I really can't say that about like a ton of vehicles, even getting in a bone stock like SR5 4Runner. I'm like, it was bouncy. Like there needs to be some tune-ups, some mods. There needs to be a little bit of work put into this. And I'm getting in this Overtrail, like, what is going on? Like,
Right.
I want to try to pick this thing apart and say, first thing I'm doing is ripping the suspension off, which I probably still would. But you don't need to. Like it's actually, it's like, what is happening? In Arizona, yeah, it's like sandy and stuff, but there were still rocks, there was still mud, there was still, issues where you need good traction. And yeah, just like personal opinion, it's like, man, that was a very well-rounded experience on a well-rounded off-road truck. And then obviously, like you said, you throw in the fact that it's legit a luxurious vehicle.
Right.
It's almost just like, forget it. Like this is
the one.
It, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, overlanding, off-roading, I mean, you guys know, right? It's a bottomless pit of wants. I want this, I want that, especially me coming from kind of the Jeep community.
Yeah.
Like, you buy that thing with the express intention of ripping everything off and building it the way you want.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I love that about that car. That's why I own that car. But this car is the opposite strategy to solving the same problem.
Yeah.
I could go to a dealership, pick an Overtrail off the lot, drive home, pick up my wife and 2 kids, on the way home from the dealership, throw the camping gear in the back, and go.
Right.
Full stop. And that is what this car can do for its buyer. That, I mean, there's just, what else is on the market that is really that, it's turnkey, it's effortlessly turnkey,
And I know I've been more Toyota focused, but you have been, driven like lots of vehicles. I mean, even driving Defenders and Range Rovers and Mac Daddy 4Runners and like the new Land Cruiser sitting in it, like there's something actually here. And I'll add to it if we can. It's not only like the exterior functionality and capability, and like you use the word effortless. I feel like that's it. That's the word, because when you're in the cockpit, there's not only like great visibility, considering all these new vehicles with all these new safety standards and features and like requirements, like visibility just hasn't been great with a lot of these new vehicles for at least 10 years.
Right.
Where I feel like they actually tried. They were like, hey, we're gonna make the windows lower. We're gonna make the hood angle downwards. We're gonna make the dash small, low, flat.
Well, you know what it feels like? The vehicle feels familiar.
It does.
And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Like they are not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
where they know things work. And when they do implement the new tech, of which there's a lot, it's not intrusive. You know, like something I noticed on the drive, like if you have the, I think it's the center locker enabled, and you full crank for a turn, it'll actually apply the brake to the rear inside tire to help tighten your turn radius. And it's not something that you have to think about enabling or disabling and, oh, like, you know, the conditions have to be just right. It's just like a feature that they don't even really advertise. Like,
it's just there.
It just does it. Like you just, you're on an obstacle, or you're on a trail, you have to make a tight turn, you just turn the wheel and you're turning tighter than you probably should be, but you don't even notice. Like you're just, oh yeah, that's just how the car is. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, all that modern stuff is coming into play, which is cool. And that is like a big, you know, my gripe as an automotive enthusiast in general is like, I always think the tech's too intrusive. And I didn't get that feeling here. In fact, I thought it was very much an aid. Like, I wasn't using the 360 cameras off-roading as a crutch. It was actually like a neat tool for very specific purposes. But your visibility is so good that you could put tape over all the cameras, it'd be no different to you. Like the car is still brilliant.
And to build off that, two things: the 360 cameras, the multi-terrain monitor system. It's great, and it's nice to have when you're on a super steep incline. You can't see a thing. I mean, turn those puppies on, and you have all the angles you could ever imagine, more than I even thought were possible. Like, you think of like a nice front camera. This is like 5 times that. Like, you can actually see, like, there's a line on the front tire where you can see like your angles there, so you know what your tire's going over. It's not just like guessing. And then on top of that, the off-road turn assist. It's like that is just something in my mind where I'm like, okay, I'm taking this turn. We only have to do it one time. We don't have to back up at all. My mind immediately goes to Imogene and Black Bear Pass. Black Bear Pass in Colorado. I know you and Dylan just did it for the first time last summer, but you know those crazy hairpin turns. And my 4Runner doing it a couple summers ago, it's 3-4 point turn, because you want to be safe, obviously. You want to have like the right like trail etiquette, if you will. So regardless, you're doing a few point turn. But on this, there may be a shot at doing those hairpin turns with no multi-pin. Like, you can just turn.
That sounds like something we got to do.
Yeah, so that's like what I think of. I'm like, oh, we're in Arizona, like this trail's not that hard. But, and really Black Bear isn't either, but I'm thinking of like, oh, okay, the actual trails that I'm doing, this probably could just make that turn.
Right. And when it comes to off-roading in general, you know, there's multiple schools of thought of how to do it. You know, you can toss a bunch of armor on a truck and add a bunch of clearance, and you can tackle obstacles that way. Or you can take kind of the, you know, the pocket knife approach and be a little bit more, I don't know, we're tactical, like mindful with your inputs to like try and tackle obstacles. And this car sits in that latter boat. Like, sure, you could bolt all sorts of stuff to it, but that's not what you probably would want to do. You want to leave this thing stock and tackle obstacles with the tools that this vehicle gives you.
I think that's the beauty of it. Like, you actually do truly have that option. I know you do with outgoing, and I know you do with like a 5th gen, but this one, it just takes that to the next level from an intuitive sense and a capability sense. And at the same time, if you want to take it to the like up a notch, the Overtrail not only comes with 33s from the factory, but if I'm just looking at it and I understand what it takes to clear tires, because I have a friend who is adamant about educating people on that. So I've been in the trenches in those conversations of, there's actually a good amount of room in these wheel wells. With a suspension, like swapping for a different suspension, maybe adding a bit of height, maybe clearancing a little bit, you can unbolt that body mount. I think you could actually fit a bigger tire. And then it's like, okay, now I can take it to the next level. But the beauty is, for what this can do, doesn't need to go there. But if you want it to go there, you can if you want.
Right. And 33-inch tires from the factory.
I think that's a first for Toyota, for GX, for 4Runner, for Tacoma. There's never been a 33 option from the factory. And like, just simple like math with just a basic tape measure, lining it up from the ground to the top of the tire, I'm talking about a 33-inch tire. This is a Toyo like AT-MT RT mix that Toyo and Lexus, if I heard her right this morning, they co-developed it.
Right.
So it's not just like an AT ripped from Toyo. It's like thoughtful. The sidewall's thicker, but it still maintains, like, for the most part, pretty quiet drive. Like, it's not that typical loud tire feel and hear.
Right.
Which
Well,
is sick.
they were threading that needle between capability,
Right.
but also like tact, right?
Yeah.
It's still a Lexus,
Yeah.
so road noise is important,
Yeah.
gas mileage is important,
Yep.
but so is capability.
Yep.
And so I thought it was really neat that they
Yeah.
were like, no, like we're just gonna make our own tire because that's the only way we're gonna get the performance that we will demand of our own vehicle. So yeah, I mean, that was real cool. But
All right, so let's chat a bit more about on-road driving experience. I know that my just off-the-cuff personal experience driving this has been just dumb good, but it doesn't take much, right? I'm coming from a lifted 5th gen, so I get in this thing and I'm like, the acoustic glass, the panoramic sunroof, the massaging seats, forget it. Set the cruise at 90 and you can whisper to each other, it's so quiet. But for you, a just overall car guy, I'm curious your perspective and thoughts getting to drive this thing.
yeah, well, so after the on-road driving, you know, I had two takeaways,
Yeah.
right? And you're gonna have to hear me out here. This car is,
Uh-oh.
it's both effortless and uncompromised, which is
That's bold.
Right, it is bold. But hear me out here. So on the effortless side, everything about this car is designed to be intuitive and easy to use. You don't have to fight the new tech. They don't reinvent the wheel with stuff that already works. The car is intuitive. So you spend less time thinking about how to manage the car and more time enjoying the experience that the car has brought you to. And this is a stark contrast to the cars that I personally own as a car enthusiast. I live and breathe effort when it comes to cars. Like, I drive a Fiat that spends half of its time, you know, leaking oil. You know, like everything is effort with some of these cars. This car is the opposite of that.
Interesting.
Now, the second point, uncompromised. That's almost even a bolder statement.
For sure.
Because I'm so used to cars being really good at X, but Y. There's always a but. You know,
Always.
they're too big, they're too slow, that gas mileage, the this, the that.
Yeah.
This car provides an experience that to me feels uncompromised in the sense that it's easy to drive. It's got great specs.
Yeah.
You know, the power is good. The gas mileage
Yeah.
is good. It's off-road capable.
Yeah.
It's not too big, but yet somehow still roomy.
Yeah.
This segment, you know, this car has really hit this segment on the head. This is a do-it-all, one-stop shop car in a way that I just haven't experienced firsthand before.
One may say a Defender killer.
Oh yeah, this is a Defender killer.
I mean, body on frame, luxury off-roader, period.
Land Rover should just pack it up at this rate with this car.
Sorry, Land Rover, we love you. We love Defenders,
Yes.
but like,
Yes.
this GX is tough to beat. So, let me just rattle off a few tech and interior features just to build off what you're saying. There's a lot of them, and this is I'm out of my league on some of this stuff. So Lexus provided us like a detailed spec sheet to talk about, and then after this, just to give some direction of this video, I want to dive into some of the specs off road,
Yeah.
and just kind of finish off and conclude with really what we're here to do is test this truck off road. So anyway, here's the deal with the inside is 14-inch touchscreen display, 14 inches. So
Yeah.
same size screen as you'd find in a Tundra, a Sequoia, and the premium trim Tacomas. And I would expect same size screen in 4Runner, but completely different interior, right? It's all much sleeker and developed in a different way, not at all like the ruggedness of a Toyota.
Right.
Anyway, you've got a 12-inch multi-info display, so your gauge cluster is literally a 12-inch screen. You have 21 speaker Mark Levinson sound system. I think my 4Runner has a 4-speaker knockoff JBL, so it didn't take much.
It's like both speakers.
this thing is
zip
like
tied to the roof.
right. And I know you're a music guy. I'm not a music guy. I actually don't listen to music. Some would say that's strange. Most would say that's weird. But I know you're a music guy, and hooking up Apple CarPlay, which is wireless, and listening to like some nice, what would you call it, like symphony style music. It's like,
Well,
sick.
let me tell you this. So Isaac will do road trips without music,
We don't need to tell people that.
right? Which is the only way he's tolerated a 5th gen 4Runner for this long.
Okay.
No, but here's the
You're
point.
dead serious though.
Yeah, no, I'm dead serious. Yeah, this, I don't have charts to give you, but this system is excellent.
We'll put some pie charts on the screen, just kind of fake ones.
Yeah, like it's gonna be, like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, we went through a handful of genres. Dynamic range and clarity is just great, combined with like the acoustic deadening all the way around. Like, yeah. It's a great listening experience, which is a big deal to me because that is
Right.
I spend all day listening to music in my car.
It makes you wonder. I probably would listen to music if I had a nice sound system like this. And I will add this just to the viewer, that specifically this spec sheet I'm reading is the Luxury Plus that we're sitting behind. So yes, the Overtrail Plus and some of the other trims have most of this stuff, but what I'm talking about right now is the truck that we're in. So let me keep going. Obviously wireless CarPlay, which the integration of it was very good.
Yeah, it's snappy. Not only is the built-in infotainment great, but so is the wireless CarPlay integration with the wireless charging too. Like,
I mean,
goes back to that effortless. You're not thinking
Yes.
about it, and that's what's cool.
You're not working at it. We've
Yes.
driven brand new 2024 models where it's like, please connect, please connect, please connect. Like, what is going on? It's just in a CarPlay's not clear. It's like this isn't working. Anyway, I think one big thing to talk about the interior here is the panoramic 360 cameras, and in the Overtrail, it's the multi-terrain monitor. Not only is it a couple of cameras that help you see, it is actually cameras all over the vehicle, and not only cameras, but they're high def, clear, good cameras, as if Lexus said, we've seen what everybody else has done the last 10 years with these crappy cameras. We are just going to nip it in the butt, and we're going to come out with a nice camera system that actually works. For off-road, places the tire in the right spot. For on-road, you can back up and you can see your trailer well. You can go forward, you can see both sides when you're parking, it's the real deal. And again, someone like me coming from, even my wife drives a new 4Runner, has some cameras, does not compete with this. So it's just, It's cool to see.
We've spent so many years with these, these techie camera solutions being in that almost stage of development. They're almost useful, but not quite. This car has hit that, right? Like, I don't claim to love like all the crazy tech and all these cars all the time, but these were cameras that I found myself using on the off-road course.
And the nice thing too is, I can rattle off a lot of these, but the reality is it's simple, it's effective, it's not overboard like you were saying. So although there's a lot here, it's not too many to where you're like, oh man, is that gonna work in 5 years? Yes. Everything on here, like Lexus is saying, at least this is what I believe, we're only going to install and integrate systems into these trucks that are going to outlast. You're going to be able to put several 100,000 miles on this truck, and the massage seats are still going to work. The nav's still going to work. The Mark Levinson's still going to sound like it was brand new. The multi-terrain monitor, all of that stuff, I genuinely believe is like very, very purpose built and designed, which is super cool. And then on top of it, like when we're just talking about the overall feel and the overall comfort of driving this thing. And again, my mind goes off-road. It's like the panoramic sunroof is really cool, but on top of that, you have an automatic shade that closes. And if you want it open and you don't want like the sun beating through, the glass, I don't even know what you call it, the glass frosts itself.
There's like a diffusion system.
Yes, I'm sure there's a name in here, and I'm gonna find it. Maybe we'll put it in the video. But it's like we played around with it for like 10 minutes.
It diffuses it.
It's
on
very cool.
demand.
It's very cool for an off-road vehicle. Like, sure, I get that in like an X7, but an off-road vehicle, I'm like, dang, that's some super cool stuff to be able to toss in. So last but not least, we're all here for the Overtrail Plus. We're here for the off-road prowess and street cred that this GX has. So I'm only going to talk about those specs. Okay. So off the bat, this is the TN GAF global platform. By platform, it's the chassis, the frame is the same as Tacoma, Land Cruiser, Sequoia, Tundra. It's more rigid, it's stronger, and Lexus literally said this morning, it is designed for aftermarket support. It's designed for off-road integration to be stronger and more capable, which is everything I wanted to hear. I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking the future of Toyota and the future of Lexus, and all I want to know is that these things are going to continue to get better off-road. And by knowing that they're starting with an already super beefy frame is the real deal to me. No C-channel, it's all sick. So when we're talking about bolting on sliders, when we're talking about upgrading suspension, not that you even need to, which is the crazy part. I'm just used to saying that. It's all going to be even more possible, which is neat. Again, independent front suspension, solid rear axle. I do want to get some of the specs on diff size, gear ratio, things like that. So once those are available to us, we will talk about those. To talk about the motor a little bit, V6, twin turbo, 10-speed, and you're going to be able to tow 9,000 pounds. So integrated hitch right here, behind this little cover, 9,000 pounds of towing, which is, I believe, the outgoing the GX460, and the 5th gen is like 6,000 pounds or 6,500. I think the GX is a bit more because of V8, which is great. Over Trail Plus is going to have a rear locker, center locker, 4-low, multi-terrain select, downhill descent, and then a multi-terrain select option for mud, rock, snow, things like that. And then built in with all that is just all the tech to back it. So even though outgoing models do have some of that stuff, it's all on the screen and displays everything to a T of what you're dealing with. There's a whole off-road section of the page. We'll walk you through it to like back all of this stuff, which is just really neat. Suspension-wise, we're looking at KDSS, it's electronic, versus outgoing is hydraulic. Electronic is going to offer more flex, more articulation, more wheel travel, which is everything that we want to hear. And on top of that, there's little things too, like the Over Trail Plus front bumper is tucked up. There's skid plates underneath the whole truck, actual skid plates. Took my wedding ring, you hit against it, they're actual metal skid plates. And those are also going to be offered. If you don't want to spend the money on an Over Trail, you can get a base GX, you can go to your Lexus dealer, you can get those skid plates. They confirmed it this morning. Let's see. On top of that, approach angle, 26 degrees. Departure angle, 22 degrees. Both improvements from the outgoing model, like big improvements. Something that's pretty neat is in things that you wouldn't expect a car manufacturer to talk about, at least I wouldn't. But Lexus and Toyota care, and they know where their customers are taking these vehicles. They moved the radiator up significantly higher and made it larger for better airflow, better coolant, so that when you are driving at low speeds and 4-low for just say the whole day on a trail, there's proper cooling and proper positioning of the radiator. And if you do cut the bottom of the bumper and you slap an aftermarket bumper on, you don't have to worry about getting in the way of that radiator. So there's little things like that, and there's more that Lexus took into consideration, which is cool. That's the stuff that I really care about, and those are the things that matter when I'm saying, okay, whether it's in a year and 5 years, if I'm buying and building a GX, these are the things I want to know Lexus did. They looked ahead, they thought ahead, and they were like, these are things that are going to matter, really matter, and we're going to fix them, and we're going to do better, which is cool.
Yeah, it goes back to kind of what I was speaking on earlier with the whole like multi-purpose improvements thing. You know, it feels to us as though, you know, the engineers looked at this car and they said, hey, we're only making changes if we can see two or more benefits per change. So you don't end up with that complexity where there's a change that's made that gives you a benefit in one thing, but then a downside somewhere else. Everything that is made is done, or every change that is made is done efficiently. And that, I mean, it adds up. It really does add up.
Yeah, I think to sum up my thoughts is a couple of years ago when the rumors started circulating around, you know, new Sequoia, new GX, new Taco, new 4Runner, which we haven't seen yet. Hopefully we will. New LX, new Land Cruiser, things like that. It's like, oh man. I think at that time, at least for me, I was worried that they would even be body on frame. Part of me is like, are they going to go like the Grand Cherokee route? Is this going to be a unibody and we're all going to be disappointed? So for me, just seeing that even the Lexus GX is a body-on-frame truck. I'm like, Toyota and Lexus are not going anywhere. They care about the off-road scene. They care about their customers. They care about making this even more capable. And everything just, in my opinion, comes down from that. Like it just, I can unpack it as much as I can and as much as I want to, but the fact remains that, you know, these trucks are here to stay, and they're only getting better. And I feel like we saw a lot of that today.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of largely feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest takeaway after driving this vehicle, you know, over the course of the day, is that, you know, it's greater than the sum of its parts. The magic to this vehicle is that it all comes together to give you an experience that's very curated and it's very user-friendly. And I don't know if there's a better way to say it than that, but yeah. Impressive.
So I think that's it. I think we can wrap this thing up. I want to say thank you, Lexus, for the invite. It means the world to us. Seriously cannot say thanks enough. And we're excited for these GXs to hit the lots. We're excited to see them on the road. Excited to get behind the wheel of one and take them on some trails in Colorado. And yeah, thanks for watching. We hope you learned something. We hope you enjoyed this. And only more content around the GX to come is the hope. So thanks.
Take care.